every year I like to clean out my system. I like to make sure everything is dusted, wiped down, there's no dust or anything in there, and that I have a smooth and fully operational system in order to work, record, edit, do all that stuff. And so this year, because I have the temperament of a Tasmanian devil, I have broken some parts and had to wait for them to come in the mail and put them all together. And then I just did a fresh install of my Linux system, which means that now I don't have any sort of web development stuff on here, which is good because I did want to show you something. Now, typically, because I use Vue a lot, I do a lot of JavaScript type things in my development, whether it's Laravel or if it's just something on its own. I like JavaScript. I like the way that it works. It's just my particular preference. So I will have a node environment installed in my system at any given time. About 2 years ago, I stopped downloading Node.js directly, which is something that you can do straight from the website. And the reason I stopped doing that was because if I'm working on an old project, or if something changes with the versions where one thing won't install correctly and X, Y, and Z, then that became a problem. And the problem is that not only figure out which version of Node.js you would need, but also you would have to install it. And Node has a lot of different packages and libraries and different things that, because it's just such a big system. The nice thing about it is cross-platform. So whether I'm on Windows or Linux or anything like that, or even Apple, I'm never on Apple, but it would work on Apple as well. It's a nice setup, but for it to have so many different packages installed in it, it makes it really a pain in the neck to install directly. And as you can see here, the install for it is very easy. You can use NPM, you can use brew, you can use different ways of doing it. And the one that I typically will use is NPM, and that's the one that I have been using the longest. The nice thing about doing it with NPM is that it's a quick install, and you can also pick which version you want to use. And instead of installing every single version of NPM, you can just install particular versions. So you can have always the latest stable release, or you can have the latest bleeding edge version of whatever it is. And this is something that I have been using for about 2 years. So I'm going to show you how to do this one really quick. And then I'm going to show you another one that I have replaced this with. They're both very good, but this is the one that I'm going to end up replacing. This is the official GitHub repository for NVM. It's called nvm-sh/nvm. And this is where you'll go to find the most information about it. And as I said, it is really just it's a way to install different versions of Node without having to install Node.js directly. And it's nice because it keeps it in one specific sort of collection, and then you can always delete them if you don't need them or want them or whatever. Now, I'm not exactly sure which this is built with, but it's fine. It doesn't really matter. It is way faster than installing Node.js on your system. I'll leave links to all of this stuff in the description down below so that you guys can access it and take a look at it yourselves. But for now, I just want to follow the very basic installation instructions for them. So let's see. To install or update, you should run the install script. And if we go to that, you can see this is what's happening in that install script, where it's checking for which version of Bash, and it's going to be adding some information about your profile so that it knows which versions that you might have. And this is just the install script. So there's a lot of stuff in here. I would take a look if you're interested in stuff like this. If you're interested in looking at how shell scripts are made or how this particular shell script is made, then you can come and take a look at this on your own. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use curl. And I'm going to use this line in here. And again, there are slightly different instructions on the Node.js site for it, but I like to go to the source of whatever it is I'm going to be downloading. And that's just what I'm doing here. So I'm going to use the curl command. And then I'm going to go ahead and come to my terminal, and I'm going to paste that in. And I'm going to go ahead and let it run. As you can see, I have a config folder. Let's take a look really quick at what it did. It downloaded from the repo, and it put it in my .config//nvm into that folder. In there, it has created it, and then it has installed basically all of it. So now it's appended the NVM source string to the profile. There is bash completion as well for me. And then to run the following command, I just need to export this, and this loads NVM. Fine, let's go ahead and take a look at the browser and see if there's anything else that we need to do. So this gives a little bit of a better instruction of what's happening. So you can run the above command, download a script and runs it. The script clones the NVM repository to /nvm, or basically my folder was .config/nvm because that's how I have set up my system. And because I'm using ZSH, it's going to try to put these lines in my ZSHRC file. So I'm going to copy this one just in case it didn't. And then we're going to go and make sure that it's all good. Now, I also use this in Windows, and I believe I was using it in WSL as well, but I do believe that I was also using it in Windows directly. And I can't remember exactly where this information has been put, but you get the idea. For that, I believe you would use winget. If you're using Windows, it's probably going to put it somewhere slightly different. If you're using Apple, it's probably going to put it in the same thing. I'm not sure how Apple file systems work, so I couldn't really tell you that. I can only tell you really what Linux is using because I did use this in my WSL as well. So I'm going to copy that and let's go and sort that out. So for my ZSH file, it'll be in config ZSH in my ZSH RC file right here. So I don't even have NVim installed yet, or NeoVim. That's fine. We're going to come down to the bottom here, see if it put it in here. That's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and paste that in here, and that should be fine. Home, and because it is in a different folder, I do need to do .config/nvm/.nvm. That should be good. I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to source.zshrc, and let's see if we have it. Well, we do. We have the NVM instructions in here where we can install specific versions, and then we can use certain versions, and then you can also create aliases. You can also install the latest, the LTS version, use it, and then that's how you move on. Why don't we go ahead and try that? So we'll do NVM install LTS. So as you can see, it's installing 22.13, which we just looked at, which was the latest stable release. And now we go and do NVM use 22.13.1. Let's do node. Let me clear this. Node version, and then node or NPM version 10.92. And this is the most latest and greatest version of it. This is the LTS version of it, which is pretty cool, I think. And you see how quickly it was to install. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, uninstall this, and then we're going to use the next one, which is FNM. Okay, so I have gone ahead, I have uninstalled it, which is really quick. It was just a matter of a couple of lines removing what we did in the .zshrc or whichever file you have put yours in. So as you can see, if I do node version, it's no longer here. If I do NPM version, it's no longer here. And if I do NVM version, it is also no longer here. So everything has been removed. Now, the next one that I am going to show you is actually a recommendation from one of our subscribers to check out FNM. And I do appreciate that because I actually like it a little bit better than I do the NVM. As I said, it is not better or worse. It's just going to be up to your preference, or if this is even something that you want to do, right? I want to say thank you to, I'm going to butcher that, Anas Getz, 111, however you say it. I do want to say thank you because this was a nice change for me, and you guys really do often give me really cool things to look at, so thank you for that. Now, as I said, FNM, I think I like it better just because it is that much faster, even though NVM was very, very fast. This is really fast, and it's built in Rust, which makes it really feel lightweight. I don't know how to describe it, but that's just basically what I've experienced by using it. And it's also got a nice little bit of a layout, so you can see a little bit of an example in here. It is the same sort of an idea as NVM, but it's just using a different package to do so. For the installation, you can use it on Mac OS, Linux, and I think you can use it on Windows as well. I've used it in WSL when I was testing it out, and I've tested all of these things out. I've tested on different Linux distributions. Again, I don't use Apple, so I couldn't really tell you what Mac OS is doing, but it does say cross-platform. And since it's fairly easy to install on Linux, then I'm assuming it's just as easy on Apple. All you really have to do is just use this command in here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And you just want to make sure that you have curl and unzip already installed to make this work. Now, it also says you can use install directory and put it into a different file. I have tried to put this in the config folder and it just does not work out as well. I'm not really sure why, but I'm just fine putting it in my home folder. It doesn't really make that too big of a difference because I do typically keep the home folder pretty clean anyway. Let's go ahead and use this command to start installing it. So from here, I'm just going to go back to the home, and then I'm going to go ahead and paste that command in and let it do its thing, and it's done, right? So it's installing for ZSH and pretty much the same thing, curl and unzip are here. It has gone ahead and downloaded it, and then it's saying installing for ZSH, appending the following to home, Nico config ZSH, ZSHRC, and this is what it should have brought over there. And then it's just telling me that I need to source that file. So I'm going to copy this just to make sure that it is here. And then we'll go to that config folder. Open up the CSHRC and it is here. That's the same message that it gave us. Well, I'm going to go ahead, exit out of here, and then I'm going to source that file. Let's clear that. And now we should be able to run some FNM instructions. And we can. Here's the help file here, and there's a lot more different things. But this is the list of really the commands that you're going to be using for the most part. And you can also do completions, alias, almost the exact same thing, right? And it was almost just as quickly installed as the NPM version is. What I want to do is I want to take a look at this, and I want to install the latest. We'll clear that. We'll do FNM install LTS. And you see how much smaller these files are? They're way smaller than if we were to install it directly onto our system. Let's see node version, if I spell it right, and NPM version. And that's pretty much it. This is the one that I'm going to be using. And that's why I'm showing you what I'm using to give you guys a little bit more perspective, a little bit more insight into what I have on my system. And these are things that I do think that you can find useful. Now, if we go to the browser, you can also use Brew to install it on macOS. You could also use it in Linux, but I don't have Brew installed, so I'm not using that. You can use Winget on Windows, Scoop on Windows, Chocolatey on Windows, and then you can also use Cargo. So if I was doing more Rust-based development, then I would probably have installed it this way, but I'm not, so there we are. The other thing is completions. You can also set this up to run in whichever shell you're using, and everything is pretty much the same. These are the commands you would run to do something like that. So these do work in PowerShell. As I said, I've used this mainly on WSL. I find Linux has been a very friendly environment for development. And even though I've been using Windows for ages, Linux has been fun. That's pretty much all I wanted to show you. Hope you guys have found this somewhat useful, and let me know which one you're going to try, if you're going to try anything, or if you're even using NPM. I'd like to know that. I'm also going to take a look at Bun at some time in the future, but I just haven't gotten around to it. It is on my list as well. As of now, this is where I am with FNM. If you're enjoying the content, please go ahead and click that like button, as it really does help out the channel. Here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like, and here's a playlist to follow along. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.